Longhorn Nation, Sooner fans, welcome to episode 173 of the Bevo Podcast, the only podcast exclusively dedicated to covering the greatest rivalry in college football, the University of Oklahoma, and the University of Texas. I'm here with my man, Kevin Miller. I am John Whitson. Kevin, it is Thursday, March 13th, 8:27 p.m. We await the tip of the Oklahoma-Kentucky rematch in the SEC tournament. We will be recapping an embarrassing loss by the Texas A&M Aggies to your Texas Longhorns in double overtime. But first, embarrassing for A&M. Embarrassing for A&M. They're basically, Kevin, you're trying to derail the intro to the show. Okay, I have a rhythm, and then you got to go in there and question when I say it is embarrassing because Rodney Terry is out the door. Y'all don't want him coaching anymore, and all A&M did in losing to you is potentially secure his job another year. Are you happy with that win now? To know that Rodney Terry is probably going to be back.
But I think whatever the decision is has already been made, unless they go on a run and make the Elite Eight or something insane like that.
You're saying even if he makes the tournament, doesn't matter. He's out.
I think so.
Beats Tennessee tomorrow.
Yeah.
In an epic upset. Just out.
I think so.
Okay, we'll come back to it. But what I was going to get to, Kevin, before you embarrassingly interrupted me, is breaking news in terms of one Eldrick Tiger Woods. Did you hear the upsetting news earlier this week?
I did.
Yeah. Tore his Achilles. I got to tell you, listen, I'm a golfer. I think it's weird that he tore his Achilles practicing golf. Something just doesn't seem right about that. That being said, his body has been beat down, broke down.
Yeah, it's been broken down big time.
And whatever. That's not the news I'm breaking tonight, though. Did you see who the new girlfriend is, Kevin?
No, I did not. I did not. No.
I knew I'd get you. How about? I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. His new girlfriend is Vanessa Trump, the ex-wife, of Don Jr., and the mother of Kai Trump, the golfer.
Okay.
Kevin.
I have literally nothing to say.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
I know he's played with Trump before, but this is Trump's ex-daughter. So
yeah, I
doubt he set her up with her. I don't know, man.
Congratulations to them. I'll leave it at that. This is
fascinating. This is, oh my gosh. Oh, why does his Achilles have to go out when I get this news? Right?
Yeah. Well, hopefully he recovers and if he wants to keep playing golf and he's one of the most big time competitors that we've had. So if he wants to play, keep playing if you want to play, but he's gone through a lot, especially physically.
I think he's done with the Achilles. I just think it's too much at his age. He's going to be 50 next year, I think. Maybe 49 next year. But regardless, with everything his body's been through, I think you'll see him at the Masters. And I think you'll see him on the Champions Tour. And I think you'll see him out with Vanessa Trump. And maybe playing golf with Kai and Charlie, as they call each other brother and sis, hopefully. But I don't know, man. It just seems weird. It seems it's unsettling that this is the way his career is going to end. But I guess maybe it's appropriate because of just how bad his body's been mangled.
The legacy set though.
I'm glad, dude. Your smile when I said Vanessa Trump was worth this intro, Kevin. So thank you.
Just okay.
Thank you for that.
Congratulations to them.
Oh my gosh, so good. All
Congratulations to them.
We're going to talk about Oklahoma in a big win against Georgia, 81-75. They are scheduled to go against Kentucky. It was supposed to start at 8:30 tonight. It looks like it's going to be closer to 9:15-ish, 9:30. because of the double overtime win by the Texas Longhorns. Kevin, Trey Johnson, a quiet 20 in a 94-point game. Trayvon Mark had 15. I'm surprised the scoring wasn't higher when you play 8 more minutes. I know Trayvon Mark fouled out, but he didn't foul out until the second overtime. But this is a big win. Does this secure them entry into the NCAA tournament?
Man, I'm still not sure. I mean, obviously it's another quad one win, which you have to be excited about. Beat Vanderbilt yesterday, right? And Vanderbilt's had that weird season where they just keep beating really good teams. So it was nice to get that win. This one helps a lot. So I'm still not ready to say that I'm fully convinced that they're in, but it does help. But I still think they're right on the edge. I wouldn't be surprised either way.
Was A&M ranked?
Yes, I believe they were ranked, I don't know, 18, something like that.
Okay. So in addition to being a quad one win, this was a ranked win. I mean, they're in if they beat Tennessee, right? I mean, I don't think that's even.
Yeah, I would feel better about that if they were to beat Tennessee. I mean, it's an outstanding basketball team there. So
You previously played Tennessee on January 11th in Austin. You lost 74-70. Not a lot of shame in the score, and actually at the time a pretty good showing for what you expected to get out of the Texas season.
yeah.
Right? I mean,
By the way, A&M ranked number 14 today.
okay. Well, look, okay, so when I was watching the game last night, Oklahoma was in the last 4 in prior to beating Georgia.
Yeah.
Everybody says that secured them in, which, like Joe Lenardi said, 90%, which I think is, I don't know what else you can do. As far as Texas, they were still the last 4 out. I didn't think the Vanderbilt
they were the first team out. Is how you had Texas last night.
Was that? I know that statistic was after they played Vanderbilt, but were they the first team out before they played Vanderbilt?
No, this was after. I'm not sure where they were. I know they were out.
That was
This
after
was Vanderbilt.
Okay.
Yes. But it was before A&M.
So now you beat number 14 A&M.
I'm just curious. I think it's going to depend on what those other teams that are right there on the bubble, how their weekend goes.
Yeah. If you get some bubble busters and stuff like that.
Correct.
Everybody claims that's what happened to Oklahoma last year. I think what happened to Oklahoma last year was they didn't win a game against a Big 12 team in the top 3/4 of the league. So I mean, I don't know. I was so mad last year. I didn't want us to get in. I'm reinvested in this team now, though. Listen, Jeremiah Fears. I feel like Jeremiah Fears feels like the oh man, who was our running back a couple years ago that I was so down on, ended up having a really good season?
Eric Gray.
I feel like he's Eric Gray reinvented for me because I was so hard on Jeremiah Fears midway through this conference schedule, and I think rightfully so. He was not performing like a lottery pick. You could not look at his numbers in conference through 10, 11 games through in conference and go, oh, well, yeah, he's the number 10 pick in the lottery. Listen, I told you with 5 games to go, they had to win 3 out of the 5 games. They did that. And then they went ahead and beat Georgia. I don't know what he's averaging in the last 6, but he had 29 against Georgia.
And he's starting to show up, man. He's starting to become that guy.
I'm excited about this Kentucky game. 83-82 against Kentucky last time. We know it came down to a last-second shot. Otega Owe went out of his mind, scoring 21 of the last 23 points that Kentucky scored to win by 1, including the game winner. I can't envision that happening again in a neutral site game. So I think Oklahoma is in a really good spot. My question for you is, if Oklahoma wins, so I think Oklahoma right now is on the bubble for the play-in games, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
They beat Kentucky. Could they move to a 9 or 10 seed?
I think so. I think you will.
I think so
I
too.
think you will. Yeah, the season, things are just going really well, really well. The question I have are, where you at on Moser? You were just asking about Rodney Terry.
I conflicted. I
Yeah,
still don't think he's great at end of game. I think back to the Texas game, and there was a couple weird decisions at the end of the game that made that closer than it needed to be. Felt like he used his timeouts in weird spaces, but they won a big game against. I had to win game against Texas. They won it. A win against Georgia. I mean, did 2 wins suddenly change my mind? What I said after the Kentucky game, after seeing them in person, is that the players had not quit on him,
absolutely,
and that means something in the
for sure.
world of NIL and the world of transfer portal. The wheels could have fallen off, and he held it together. Does that mean I think he is a great game manager and an even better developer of talent? I can't go there yet,
Yeah,
right?
not
I
ready
can't
to
get.
say
I
all
can
that.
say I think he identifies talent pretty good, i.e., Jeremiah Fears, Jalen Moore, some of the guys he had on last year's team that he
Yeah,
lost.
Jalen Moore, you definitely get credit for that. I mean, Fears is a 5-star kid, so
Well, but he
but
gets credit for
but
getting him to
Jalen,
Oklahoma.
yeah, for recruiting him for sure. Yeah, it was a big time, and he's from Illinois too. He's not like he's from Dallas or from Oklahoma City.
Is it just a relationship he had? I don't know the answer to it. Is it a relationship he had when he was up at Loyola Chicago that he just knew the
It
kid
certainly
and knew the
sounds that
family?
way. It certainly sounds that way.
Well, it's worked out. I think it's worked out for Fears to be able to be in the SEC and the way he's rebounding, not rebounding the basketball, but rebounding in terms of this season. Had a great non-con, had a little dip. He's a young kid, but he's bounced back up. Man,
And
I don't
wasn't
know. I'm
he
excited for him.
he reclassified into this
Yeah,
class
he's
too?
a
So
young.
he's a
Yeah.
young 18. So yeah, I mean, you can see the
So
talent, his ability to get to the rim and finish over taller defenders.
I'll tell you another guy that played well. And this has been a knock against Porter for almost as long as he's been here. Starting season one was his inability to recruit bigs. And we really haven't had any sort of elite bigs or even above average bigs.
Yeah,
Um, I think Godwin plays really, really hard. I would love for him to be a 6 man, right? I
yeah.
think he would be a great 6 man off the bench, a great backup center. I don't think he's a starting center in the SEC. Wagway, on the other hand, he looks the part. I've watched enough to know that that can be deceiving. He can do some really stupid stuff in a game. But he went 12 points, 9 rebounds against Georgia in a
You'll take
meaningful
that
game. In a meaningful game. I'll take that from a big all day long, a
all
near
day.
double double. Okay. Texas wins in double overtime against A&M. First of all, real quick, is there anything? I know there might not be anything better than beating OU, but outside of OU, is there anything better than beating A&M?
No,
Did
not
they
at
beat
all.
you?
Any sport.
Did you beat them 2 out of 3 times this year?
Yes. Yeah, we
I
got
mean,
them in
that's a.
Austin.
This
They're a
is
good
one of
team.
the. This is one of the best teams that A&M's had, right, in a while.
Correct. Yeah, it's a really good team.
I don't know. That's got to be in their head. Okay, so you beat A&M in double overtime, 94-89. You do advance to play Tennessee. Can you beat Tennessee?
I mean, it'll take a great effort. You have to be more efficient. You have to play better than they did tonight. That's for sure. They'll have to shoot it better and
Where's their leg?
defend.
Where's their legs going to be? I'm showing
Yeah,
a.
it's tough.
I'm showing a 2:30 tip tomorrow. Probably it's 30 minutes after the first game, which was like an 11 a.m. tip. So I'm saying 2:30. I
Let's see
mean,
if I
I
have the
know they're
time here.
college kids, but that's 2 games in a row, and
That's a
then you got a
lot.
double overtime. You got a
Yeah,
double
correct.
overtime game against a team that's been sitting.
You're right about the 2:30, and yeah, you're talking about 3 games in a row. Vanderbilt on Wednesday, Texas A&M on Thursday, Tennessee on Friday. So yeah, it's a lot. You just don't see these in really any other sport having games 5 days in a row, potentially.
I can't see a scenario. I can see a scenario for Oklahoma where they beat Kentucky.
Me
You have
too.
a just like y'all had the momentum of Vanderbilt. It's kind of like
Yeah,
you're in a
beating
rhythm.
A&M.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're in a rhythm. You're playing. Look, if Oklahoma is to beat Kentucky, they get rewarded with Alabama,
yeah.
and Alabama will run them off the floor. I don't care
Yeah, I
what
mean,
kind. It's third game and three with the talent that Alabama has.
yeah, exactly. So you have a lot going against you. It's the same thing with Texas playing Tennessee tomorrow. The quarterfinals is when the top four get into it. So they haven't even played. They're rested. And maybe you can catch them off guard for a little bit. Since the fact that they haven't played yet, maybe you can get out to a decent start. You're in more of a rhythm than they are. Not haven't played in a while, but I don't know, man. Between Auburn, number 1 seed, number 2 seed is Florida. Florida will play the winner of Mississippi State and Missouri. And then, like I said, Alabama will play the winner of Oklahoma and Kentucky. So, yeah, these
Missouri's
teams,
up.
man, they're good
Missouri's
teams.
up. Missouri's up. Oh no, tied with Mississippi State, 58-58. 8 minutes and 16 seconds to go in the game. Okay. Real quick on we might come back to some basketball at the end. Real quick on the women's side, we talked about it last week just to mention it. South Carolina is still really, really good at basketball.
Yeah,
They knock Oklahoma out. Oklahoma just never could get going. It's South Carolina. It's just really hard. And then they knock Texas out in the finals. So I like both teams. I'm going to talk about Oklahoma just for a second, and then you can make a comment on Texas women's. I think that the SEC, and I think this could be true for the men if they can get in, which it looks like OU is going to be in, and maybe Texas, is that the SEC, I think, is battle hardened these teams.
yeah, I
And
agree.
I think you look at the women's, I mean, they played better as the season went on, Oklahoma women. If they can get on a run and get a favorable draw because they get to play the first 2 games at home, that could be huge for Oklahoma and obviously for Texas, who's going to be a number 1 seed, I would think, right?
Yeah,
They're
I
going to be
believe
number
so.
1 seed.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if they weren't a number 1 seed.
So the fact that you have 2 games at home, I think it fits right in with your college football playoff theory, right? Of getting some momentum at home, getting some juice, getting some energy, and man, then you just flow into the next games, right?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And yeah, as far as Texas goes, they're pretty good against anybody that's not South Carolina. They did beat South Carolina. They split their regular season series with them. But man, when South Carolina is on, they are really tough to beat. I think in order to beat them, first of all, you have to be great. And then you have to hope that they're not at their best as well, because they're loaded at every position and they just shut Texas down. They're just suffocating defense. They're all over them, no space. They clog the paint and they force Texas to take outside shots, which is their biggest weakness is their outside shooting. So
I was talking about this with the soccer dad about girls basketball. He was asked about Marjorie. Marjorie played 8th grade basketball this year. How's her shot look and stuff? I'm like, it's not very good. She doesn't have a great shot. I mean, she plays great defense and she can get to the basket, make some layups and stuff. Her shot, she works on it. She doesn't practice it. She's not diligent. Basketball's like her 4th sport, but the shot she's just incredibly inaccurate with it. And he said that he had talked to a prominent coach in Norman that does a lot of training and played at OU. And she said that in a lot of cases for girls and women, it never hits. That Caitlin Clark is a unicorn for the simple fact that nobody is as accurate as she is on the women's side of the game.
yeah,
And not even close. And I think about on OU's, like Lexi Keys, for example, is a very nice player. She's a very nice player. And when she's on, she's a really good shooter. When she's off, she's laying bricks like with the best of us. I mean, there's just the consistency isn't there. And he says it has just something to do with the women's game and the way they, treat it in the shooting and stuff. So I find that interesting
interesting.
because
Yeah,
you would think with Texas, the number 1 or 2, 3 team in the country, that they would have legitimate shooters. And yet you're saying, it's probably not their best. Probably
No,
not their best.
you can log at the paint and keep them from getting to the rim, and make them swing that ball out, and it helps your chances of beating him. That's for sure.
All right, that's a pretty serious breakdown on women's basketball. Everybody out there should thank us. Okay, now let's get to football, because really that's what we're here for. It is March, though. I had to lead with basketball, Kevin. I know you wanted to lead with football, but I had to lead with basketball because it's March, and we're just coming off some really good wins. However, it's still the Boomer Bevo podcast, and it's still about football. Texas football news, March 13th. 2 unnamed football players and 3 non-student athlete members committed sports gambling violations from July 11th, 24 to November 4th, 24. These violations were self-reported. Reportedly $15,000 on prize picks is what was wagered. One player, unnamed, had to donate the winnings back to a charity and prove that was done. And then the other player was discovered to have a legit gambling problem and has since left the team. It was not said that he left the team because of gambling. I don't know if you can read in that or not.
I can.
Let me just start with what I have not. I just found this out today. Had you heard about this? What does it mean? And then I kind of want to dig into it just a little bit.
No, I didn't hear about it until this evening. And to be honest, this kind of thing happened at Iowa State a few years ago, right? With a few players there, and it's not surprising.
Most notably, their starting quarterback.
The starting quarterback, yeah. And it's not surprising, man. I mean, they made this stuff very easy and very enticing for young people to get into it. I mean, it's an app. You can do it all on your phone. And I know that it's not supposed to be for college athletes, but I do see that they make it very easy for people to do it, especially young people. So I'm honestly surprised that it hasn't happened more.
Well, first of all, to your point, not only is it easy, not only is it prevalent and it's right there on your phone, but the marketing and everything is specifically directed at their age group.
Correct. They're the target demographic for these apps.
You can't watch ESPN. You can't watch SportsCenter. You can't watch any sport program without seeing the odds and the over/under at the bottom of the page.
Yeah, and listen. What about listening to a podcast? They're sponsoring all of them.
Our podcast talks about the spread and stuff. I mean, we're not actively encouraging betting because we just kind of like to pick who gets the spread. But it is so ingrained into sport that to expect a 20-year-old kid with an iPhone who now has disposable income because of NIL,
correct,
to not want to bet on games, I just don't know what we're doing. Like, I want the integrity of the game to be real. I really, really do. I don't want there to be a question as to the integrity of the game. But to expect these kids, and it doesn't say whether they bet on Texas games.
From what it looks like is one of them, I think the other player had bet on 2 Texas basketball games.
So a football player bet on basketball games?
I believe so. Yes. It says the other player placed 67 wagers, including 2 on Texas basketball.
Is this the unnamed kid that has since left the team?
Correct. And apparently the kid has left college football.
They said he had run up a tab of north of $10,000.
Yeah.
I don't know. In the world of NIL at Texas, I don't know how much is 10,000. I mean, it's a lot of money.
Well,
I still think it's a lot of money.
It's a lot to be running up on a gambling app. When you're that age.
They take the money out first, don't they?
Yeah. He doesn't owe anybody, but that's just a lot to spend on gambling at that age. It's concerning for that kid's sake.
Okay. let's out some kids here. You're going to take any guesses at who these kids are?
I'd rather not.
Oh my gosh, I knew you'd say that. I
Yeah.
knew you'd say it. That's why I asked. Just to prove once again that Kevin Miller is above the fray. I don't know who it would be. Oh,
Yeah.
I have no
Yeah,
idea.
I wouldn't feel no, you and I could talk off the air, and we can throw some things out there, but I wouldn't want to put it out there because I honestly don't know. I mean, we can. There are
What
guesses.
about
There are guesses, right?
what about a receiver? What about a certain receiver? Is that
Perhaps
possible?
it is possible. Can be, yeah.
I think that's the name. And I have zero.
Again, I know, and that's why I don't want to say that because I have no idea.
It was just interesting that the manner in which that kid left. I'm not even going to say his name, but just interesting the manner in which he left.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know, man.
And you can't do it, and it's as hard as it is, you can't do it though. You just can't.
I think the bigger issue is getting caught. And what I mean by that
they
is,
have that technology. Have you heard about that? That it's called prohibit or prohibit. So it's PROHIBET.
okay,
Technology that the SEC mandates that all the teams use. So what it does is it basically is able to, if you put a name in there and just the other factors, name, date of birth, and all that, it can tell you if a student athlete has been placing,
even with a burner account on a burner phone, there's some analytics that.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine you still have to use your name because you have to use, you have to put a bank account and everything with it.
Yeah.
So I imagine they would verify that your identity is correct as you signed up.
Yeah.
So and that's how they found this stuff out.
I hope my reticence. I'm not trying to make excuses for these kids.
No, yeah, me neither. We're just saying how easy it makes them.
I'm just saying, my God, dude, it's like right there.
Yeah.
And I know how stupid I was when I was 20 years old.
Correct. I'm glad nothing like this was around when I was 20.
Oh man, it's tough. Yeah, it'll be it. I don't know what that means anymore when you self-report. If the NCAA has any teeth at all, like this is not going to affect them making a college football playoff. It's not
No, because it's not a lack of institutional control type deal, right? It's
they're displaying the institutional control by reporting,
by self-reporting. Yeah, right.
All right.
So hopefully these kids figure it out and just like you just can't do it when you're a student athlete.
Any other football news from Texas, from the South, from the 40 acres?
Not yet. We haven't started spring ball, so I believe that's going to start next week. So just excited for that. Excited to see the of course, our new quarterback. I think having Arch in there opens up the entire playbook where you really couldn't do that with Quinn. So yeah, I'm just excited to see how the scheme looks with a quarterback that brings a different skill set than the one that we previously had.
Do you think it opens the playbook up on 1st and goal from the 1?
I would hope so.
That was a dig at your. That was a dig at your game against Ohio State.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea that's where you were.
I don't know if you picked up on that. I don't know if you picked up on that, Kevin. I don't know. Here's the thing with Arch. He's older than Jackson Arnold, and I think he's going to be better prepared than Arnold. Not just with the pedigree. Well, no. He's older as a starter. Because Jackson Arnold came in as a redshirt freshman starting, right?
Yeah.
And he is coming in as a redshirt sophomore. This is his 3rd year in the system.
Third year. Yeah. Okay.
It was Jackson Arnold's 2nd year in the system.
Yeah.
So I think that is a big difference. I guess the comparison I wanted to make though is at the skill positions and at the offensive line, Jackson Arnold, for all his ball control issues I put solely on him, for all his decision making that I still put solely on him, he was dealt a really crappy hand when it came to a supporting cast.
Absolutely.
Now, I don't think there's a scenario in which Texas falls that far off, as far off as Oklahoma fell off last year. That's not what I'm saying. But there is, to compare what Quinn had this year with what Arch is going to have next year, it's going to be a little apple-y and orangey to compare season for season, right?
Oh yeah, you've heard me say that multiple times here, that I have genuine concerns about the lack of experience on the offensive line and lack of proven depth at receiver. Yeah, I've been adamant about that since the beginning. It's very concerning. I think, with Arch in there, it opens up the things you can do as an offense. But yeah, I mean, we had 4 returning starters last year, and this year we have 1. Trevor Gooseby, who stepped in admirably at left tackle when Kelvin Banks was injured. He played in the A&M game and completely shut out Shamar Stewart and those ultra talented guys they have there. And he played pretty well against Georgia in the SEC championship game, but he has 1 start. And he looked good, and then everybody else around him. So question marks there. Receiver, Ryan Wingo looked pretty good last year as a true freshman.
Is he a clear number 1?
Well, we have DeAndre Moore. Yeah, okay. I mean, he's going to be the number 1 outside guy. DeAndre Moore plays more in the slot. But, is Wingo ready to be the number 1 guy? He was number 3 last year, maybe even number 4. No pressure there. Now, can you be the guy? Like I told you, Matthew Golden, I was saying it all year. Now I think people are really starting to realize now he's going to be a first-round pick. But all season long, all he did was make clutch catches and just grab anything that was near him. So who is going to be that guy for us? We've had that the last few years, right? We've had Xavier Worthy, A.D. Mitchell, Jordan Whittington last year with Matthew Golden out there. So who's going to elevate into that? We'll see. The spring's going to be huge, and hopefully some guys can separate.
Who's going to play tight end for Arch?
Well, that's interesting too, right? Gunnar Helm is gone. We've got a kid, Jordan Washington, out of the Houston area. Really talented kid. We like him a lot. So we're hoping he'll end up being the guy because, like I said, he's a really talented guy. I think he could catch a lot of passes, and he can kind of he has a talent to be a Gunnar Helm type. But again, how reliable is he going to be? Can he make those clutch plays that Gunnar Helm seemed to make for us all year?
What year is he?
He's actually going to be a redshirt freshman. He played, but so again, a lot of question marks for Texas. Yeah, I believe in our recruitment, the recruiting we've been doing. I believe in the way that we have developed our players throughout Sark's tenure, but they are legit question marks, especially offensively.
Especially having to open against Ohio State.
Correct. On the road, too.
Yeah. I mean, it's
thankfully one thing for us. They've got the same amount of questions.
It's one thing for a 2-year, a 3-year returning starter in Baker Mayfield, who actually started, in Texas Tech for 6 games. So almost a 4-year starter, whatever he was going into the
horseshoe. He started 3 years already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was, going into the horseshoe. Now, interestingly enough, go back and look at the wide receivers in that game. I could barely name them. Like Lee Morris, I think, caught a touchdown pass in that game.
Yeah.
Just some names that were. It wasn't Hollywood and CD and those guys in that particular game, even though they emerged later in the year. It wasn't in that particular game. So maybe that's a sign for Texas that you don't have to have the skill if you can. But man, Ohio State's coming up.
Yeah. And the talent's there, right? But we've got the talent. It's just who's going to elevate and become that guy. But the thing is, though, Ohio State has a lot of questions. Who's going to be their quarterback? who's going to be their running back? Travion Henderson and Quinshawn Judkins are gone. Now, we know who their number one receiver is going to be because
Yeah.
he's the best receiver in the country.
That kid
You
would
know,
have
they
been. He would
lose
have.
linemen.
Okay, listen. He's 18, right?
Or, yeah, 18 or 19. Yeah.
Okay, so you have him and the kid from Alabama, Ryan Williams.
He's 19.
I think
Jeremiah
Ryan Williams is only 18. Jeremiah Smith is 19. Ryan Williams is 18. Would they be drafted in the first round right now?
Well, Jeremiah Smith absolutely would.
I think he would, right? As an
He's
18-year-old,
6'3", yeah,
19-year-old?
yes, 6'3", 215. Oh yeah, can run routes and everything. Great hands,
That's
and
unbelievable.
is the guy. Was the guy. Throw it up to me when the game's on the line. Here, when the national championship game, we need to make a play. Throw it deep to me, and I got you.
Yeah. I hate Ohio
You don't
State.
see that kind of trust.
I don't think I hate Ohio State enough to root against them in week one, but I don't want to see them do well. I would love Ryan Day Ryan Day got so smug. The beard just kept getting dyed darker and darker, and it was obnoxious.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
interesting when you guys went up there that year with Baker Mayfield, and yeah, I just remember telling Casey, I think you guys can beat Ohio State. You know,
yeah.
yeah, they had some question marks. It's hard to play there, but you can win there. And yeah, it was a great game plan from Lincoln Riley. It was a
Oh,
really
Lincoln
good,
Riley, he was in his bag. He was in his
yeah,
bag.
big time. And what you got is a really good defensive performance.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's
Yeah.
what was really surprising how well the defense played and just completely shut down. Was that JT Barrett that year
hmm
still there? Just
So
completely shut down the offense.
we haven't done a ton of Lincoln Riley talk lately just because he's kind of just faded off. But there was a recent ranking of coaches by one of the outlets or whatever that ranks them every year. Best coaches. Kirby Smart's one, Ryan Day's two. Whatever on down the list. Lincoln Riley not even in the top 25.
Oh my goodness.
And this is a guy
Wow.
that coached 3 Heisman quarterbacks and a runner-up.
Yeah, and this coach what in 3 college football playoffs as a head coach?
3 college football playoffs as a head coach.
Wow.
That's it.
You want to talk about falling off quick?
Look, I did not think it would work at USC. And so I always kind of like continued to play it up on this podcast and stuff. And, just in life, just because it's fun. I thought he was going to be this bad.
No, not a disaster. It's been a disaster.
And I don't know, man. I don't know how they bounce back to USC. Anyway, I don't want to turn this into a USC podcast. I just don't know how they bounce back in the Big Ten. There's a lot of talented teams in the Big Ten.
Yeah, the recruiting's not there. Again, it's kind of my concern with OU, at least with this last year's class. Can't be low in recruiting. And that's not how this works. You don't win national championships by just developing. Well, you do, but you got to develop talented guys.
We just talked about him. Probably the best player in college football was Jeremiah Smith. Now that we look at the whole season in totality.
Yeah.
And he was on the best team. Like that's just kind of how it works.
Correct.
So, speaking of highly recruited players, I don't even know if he was highly recruited. Jaren, we talked about this at Oklahoma. We talked about this last week with Jaren Kanak. I kind of went on a rant. I still hold true to that rant about being butthurt that the offensive coaches last year couldn't identify him as a potential stopgap in an otherwise despicably inept offensive scheme last year. However, that was last year. This is this year. This kid, all he's doing, Kevin, is saying the right things. And I don't know who Texas has on their team that is like a rallying point for the fans right now, but Jaren Kanak is a rallying point for fans. In addition to like going on, speaking very positively about the program, very positive, honestly, about where he was as a linebacker, realizing he was never going to get to where he wanted to be, where he could have been. He also said, and this is just one line out of this interview, I'd be here for free. Talking about his love for Oklahoma, love for the coaching staff, love for his teammates. Look, it's a throwaway line in most cases. I'm just going to say this. You don't hear it anymore. You don't hear the words, I'll be here for free from just about anybody.
Yeah.
And it's really, I don't know, man. I think it's kind of like motivating the OU fan base to hear a guy playing for Oklahoma who seemingly cares as much about Oklahoma as the fans do. Which, in Oklahoma's case, hasn't probably been the case since Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Spencer Rattler could have cared less that he was at Oklahoma. Jalen Hurts did not care that he was at Oklahoma. Caleb Williams clearly didn't care he was at Oklahoma. I'm not saying this guy's a starting quarterback. I'm just saying, though, like as somebody that we can kind of hang our hat on as this kid's playing for us. And then, did you see his line about catching balls?
I did, but you can go ahead and,
I have to say it. I mean, I know that I'm going to get in trouble for this. Been on those jugs like a baby on milk. Been on the okay. Can you for the when he's referring to jugs, Kevin? Jugs. Can you explain to people what jugs are?
Well, in this case, this is a jugs machine, which is
jugs
used
machine.
jugs machine that is used to help pass catchers practice catching passes.
Is this the thing with like the two wheels that spits
the
the ball
two
out?
wheels that spin. Yeah, so you can change the angle, you can change the speed of the pass to help you prepare for catching. Sometimes quarterbacks got to zip it in. Sometimes they float it, so you can catch 5-yard passes with it. You can catch 50-yard passes with it. So
are
apparently
you
he's been all over it.
Easy. Okay, listen. Are you saying when he says he's been on those jugs like a baby on milk, that's an entirely appropriate thing for a new tight end to say?
Of course. Yes, he's learning on the jugs machine.
Hey, everybody out there is a jugs machine. He's referring to a training apparatus meant for receivers and tight ends in football, and sometimes running backs, right?
Correct.
Have you ever caught a ball off a jugs machine?
I have.
I never have. I kind of feel like I'm missing out on a rite of passage.
Comes at you quick, man.
Does it really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Take some adjusting too, for sure. I have a question, though. What do you think?
Yeah, go ahead.
How do you think it works out for him? The switch?
I don't know. The excitement that I have for him could easily just fade away.
Yeah.
The reality is right now, I just don't know who we have at tight end.
You've got Davon Mitchell, Cade McIntyre.
Look, Devon Mitchell looks like the guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
how does he look? I know you heard that he's been being in the college weight program. He's gained a lot of weight.
I hear, yeah. What did I tell you? 245 last time?
No, you want to say like 265, 270.
I said 270. I think I said 275 last time. I think I said he's like 270, and he looks like it. But from what I understand, he might not be the most mentally with it guy on the team.
Okay.
I think it's the nicest way to say what I'm trying to say.
It takes time. Hopefully for him, the light switch comes on. He's still a very young player. He really should just be entering college now, right?
Yeah, look, dude, I talk about all this all the time. I'm a father of a 26-year-old son. We talk about Jeffrey. Jeffrey, unfortunately, is in a position where he just gets picked on this show sometimes. It's because I like to share things. I just said saying that kids at 18 and 19 are stupid for the most part.
Yeah, you have no idea what you're doing yet. You can't have too high of expectations of 18-year-olds.
But we do, because we are confronted with people like aforementioned Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams,
It's
dudes
so
that
rare
just,
though, man.
it's so rare, but it
It's so rare.
totally
But
skews.
it's possible.
Kevin, it skews our perspective though.
Oh, I'm not blaming fans at all
And we look at a Devon
for that.
Mitchell and we're like, dude, how can you be 6'5", 275 and not just go out there and catch balls and mow people down?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
hopefully he will. Okay, anyway, my point being is you got him and you got Caden Helms and you got McIntyre along with Jaren Kanak. My concern is that Jaren Kanak might actually get maybe not a majority, but a plurality of the snaps. And it's a little concerning that a guy that's played linebacker for the last 3 years could potentially be the best tight end on our team.
It is.
As excited as I am. I just talked about the fact that he's a lightning rod right now for the fan base. You know, he excites me. I read the stuff he's saying, and I'm like, yes, dude, that's what I want from my. Yeah, heck yeah, you know, like let's freaking go, the whole deal. You know, I think I've tweeted #LFG like 12 times to his tweets in the last 2 weeks, you know? But at the same time, I'm like, at the end of the day, if he's our best tight end, is that a further indictment on an already not so beloved tight end coach?
Yeah, I mean, you would think one of these guys can step up, right? I mean, Helms or McIntyre.
Well, Caden Helms has been hurt, right? I mean, I think he's been hurt like his entire career at OU.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think if he's healthy, he's probably the best guy in the room. I think if Devon Mitchell can get it together mentally and understanding his assignment, understanding his role on the team, I mean, I think we're talking like the whole shebang from him in terms of what is lacking. I think if he can get that under control, he's a physical specimen, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
6'5", 275 or whatever he is. I mean, my God. And but at the end of the day, I just said a lot of ifs there. This guy has, if this did it, if this guy does it, if this, and so it's like, okay, maybe Jaren Kanak. Look, I think he could be a really nice player. Is he blocking South Carolina's edge?
Hopefully not.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I mean,
Well, if it's Jalen Stewart, he better not be.
Bauer Shock did a crap hole job of it last year, and he was highly thought of coming into the season.
Yeah. Again, though, you can't have you should never have.
It should have never happened.
It never should have happened. Yeah, that's not his fault.
It never should have happened.
No.
So I think you bring up a really good point. I mean, I think it's okay for fans to be excited, and excited might be a strong, but like pumped that this kid's getting a chance and he represents us. But on the other hand, I think there needs to be just some caution. Like, I hope he's not all there is.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Also, I got one more question about, have you heard anything about PJ Adebawari?
You asked that like you've heard something about him.
No, not a word. I follow the 5-star kids, and I just like to see how they're developing. And this is going to be him going into year 3.
Yeah, he's going into year 3, and I think it's so easy to lump him in with Anthony Hill Jr. at Texas because they were both 5-star kids coming in the same class.
Yeah.
And you see what Anthony Hill Jr. has been able to do and the success he's had and the growth he's shown. And you say, well, why isn't PJ on that same trajectory?
Yeah.
So, especially when I think we agree that Brent Venables, for all his faults, is a very good developer of talent on the defensive side of the ball.
Yes.
So, he's not a bust yet, right? You're not a bust.
I think it's too early. It takes guys some time. But,
Well, what do you think, though? Come on. I know you're always nice. You're not going to call out a kid for gambling and stuff, but I mean, what's your? I mean, would you be disappointed if
Well,
PJ
I would call out a
Adebari?
kid for I would call out a kid for gambling if I knew who it was for sure.
That's
I
fair.
would
No,
absolutely
that's
call it.
fair. That's fair. But back to PJ Adebari. I mean, if he's a Texas Longhorn and he's performed to the level that he's performed as a 5-star recruit, I mean, are you disappointed in his performance?
Yes,
Yeah,
just
I
because
think that.
the athleticism is just off the charts, right?
But we haven't even really seen it, though, Kevin. We haven't even really seen the athleticism. You know it because you follow recruiting. But just a
Yeah,
guy who watches the games, it's like he looks the part, i.e., Devon Mitchell. It's like same thing, right? He looks the
yeah,
part, but I haven't even really seen him flash. I haven't
yeah.
even seen like.
He has 4.5 sacks so far in his career. So,
I wonder how many of those came
he
against Maine.
yeah, he had 1 sack last year, and actually, I'm sorry, he has 1.5 sacks for his career. He has
Oh,
three
okay,
three tackles for loss.
okay.
So he had 1 sack last year, and it was against South Carolina. Might have been in the mop-up duty there when the game was out of hand.
Well,
And
no. Listen, real quick though, on that South Carolina game, this tells you what a stupid game that was. I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm going to push back on the mop-up duty. South Carolina beat our butts, right? We could agree with that.
yeah,
Well, they were up 21-0 after 4 minutes.
yeah.
South Carolina had 253 total offensive yards in the game.
No, you played good. I'm just wondering
I'm
what
just saying he
speed
could
by the
have. The
time he
sack
came
could
into
have
the
come.
game.
The sack
Yeah,
could have come though. I mean,
yeah,
253 yards could have happened anytime. It wasn't
that's
like
true.
they had 553 yards and he got it. I'm saying
Yeah,
253 yards. Anyway, my point.
yeah. No, no.
Okay,
Your defense actually played pretty good against South Carolina that day.
but
Yeah,
you bring up the point though that I mean at 4.5, I was thinking, well, man, he's actually over 4. Like in my brain, I'm like, that doesn't sound right. One and a
yeah. I
half
was
sound
reading that too.
one or 1.5, whatever. That sounds right. And Kevin, I just like well, I'm trying to think of a guy that's flashed before, and you're like, man, that guy. Who never really took off was Dason McCullough, right? We talk about him all the
Yeah.
time.
Uh-huh.
Um, but man, there were flashes, dude. Like there were time frames of potential that leapt off the screen at you when you were watching him play. There were
Yeah.
other times where he did kind of fade into and you didn't, but there were other times where you're like, that guy's an SEC football player, and he is. I haven't seen that with PJ.
Yeah.
So I know you keep following him, but Missouri just won. I think
Yeah, just
Missouri just beat
anytime I see okay, so Missouri's through
Missouri's through.
in the SEC basketball tournament. Good
That's
stuff.
correct.
With him though, you see the recruiting ranking, top 20 kid, consensus 5-star on all the recruiting services. And again, I'm not, I would kind of ask you or somebody that's closer to the OU program. I don't think anybody's out on him yet. And again, the light switch comes on later for some kids, even 5-star kids.
Well, you don't.
Uh,
I don't want to be out on him. I kind
yeah, you
of
want to see
like
it.
what we talked about. I want to see something. Like, show me something.
Yeah, correct.
Go. Let's
And it's
go.
not every kid's going to be Colin Simmons and going to get you, 10 sacks as a true freshman,
Golly, dude, he's on
right?
another level.
Dude, he's unreal. I
Uh,
can't wait to see him next year.
Kevin, before we close, you've had homework now for about a month and a half to watch on HBO or HBO Max. We Beat the Dream Team, which features the story of college athletes going up against the fabled Dream Team in a scrimmage where they meet, play, and beat the Dream Team. It's made up of players like Grant Hill, Bobby Hurley, Jamal Mashburn, Chris Webber, Eric Montross, another
Penny
guy I can't
Hardaway.
think of, Penny Hardaway. Oh, and then who was the shooter? Allen Houston. Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, you finally you told me off air that you finally completed your homework. Good job. Before I ask you what I've been dying to ask you, just what'd you think of the show?
Oh, it was great, man. It was great. Some great memories there. Not just of NBA basketball, but college basketball. Just being a fan of those guys in college, especially Chris Webber. Chris Webber and Grant Hill. I mean, just two all-time great college players. If you think about that, Chris Webber, central casting for a power forward, right?
Oh, he's so good.
6'9", 6'10", such a skilled passer, great footwork. Man, he was so fun to watch. He was just really smooth out there. And I mean, Grant
He
Hill,
looked when they were showing the video, he looked like he belonged on the court.
yeah, absolutely, especially him and Grant. I mean, there was just no drop off between them and the NBA guys. And Grant could do it all, right? He was a lockdown defensive player. He was a great passer. He could drive to the basket. He can shoot. He was awesome, man.
My all-time favorite college basketball player, Grant Hill.
Probably mine too.
I
And I am not a Duke guy. I
I
know
have
you're
a
a Duke guy. I'm not a
I
Duke guy, but I love Grant Hill.
I was a Duke guy, and
Okay.
this
Well,
this is
yeah.
gonna
But before the
we're
game
good.
changed.
We're good. Well, we're gonna get to this because this is kind of goes into why past tense I was a Duke guy. Grant Hill was everything though, man. He was cool with the hair, he had and then the dunk against Kansas. I mean, for on the alley oop, he was such a good player. And then he's on top of that, he's just class.
Yeah.
He is like the epitome of just the classiest guy in the room all the time. And I loved that they told this story through his perspective because he's on another level when it comes to just the type of person he is and things of that nature. Okay, let's talk about why I wanted you to watch this, the question I had for it, and why I'm no longer a Duke fan. Near the end of it, and I remember this now because I remember the Dream Team documentary that came out like in 2014. Coach K said that Chuck Daly threw the scrimmage. And then when he's further pressed on it by Grant Hill, who played for Krzyzewski, all right? This is his coach.
His former player. His best player, right? He's had some really good ones.
I don't know. Christian Laettner is probably his best college player, right?
Probably, yeah.
I mean, I think Grant Hill is a better player, but I think you know what I'm saying.
Same. Yeah.
There should be a relationship there, right? Like there should be a relationship.
Very close. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. However, Grant Hill is kind of pseudo interviewing Krzyzewski, right?
Yeah.
Let's just start there before we even get to the question. The interaction seemed awkward, right?
It was very awkward. It was like I almost wanted to stop it.
Yes, thank you. It looks like to me that it was a player interviewing a coach of another team.
Yeah.
Not
the guy who molded his entire career.
Right, exactly. Who you should have some like amazing relationship with.
Yeah.
And instead it was like cringy and awkward. And even Grant Hill
was very uncomfortable.
The coolest guy in the room, who probably makes anybody feel at ease when he's talking to him, was left going, ugh. Okay, so then Coach K asked, Coach, do you really think that Chuck Daly threw the game? Coach K could have had 100 answers that would have been more appropriate than the answer he gave, which is, yes, I think he threw the game. There's no way y'all would have won. There's no way you'd have won. In fact, you didn't win. Kevin, that blew my mind, dude. It blew my mind.
It's pretty wild, right? How do you blow a game? Look, as a coach with those guys?
Listen, he makes points like, I guess the point you could be made was, did Michael Jordan play the whole game? Okay, maybe Michael Jordan didn't play the whole game. John Stockton is the all-time steal leader and assist leader at that point.
Correct.
Magic Johnson is maybe the best point guard to ever play the game.
Yeah.
Scottie Pippen is still one of the top 10 defensive players of all time. Karl
Right.
Malone led the league in scoring up until LeBron James passed him. Like, I can keep going, right? You and I could keep going and going and going with the platitudes of this team. They didn't have to have Jordan on the court.
Yes.
Of course you played Jordan on the court. Okay, whatever. And then they say, well, Chuck didn't call timeout. I mean, he could have called timeout and made some adjustments. These guys aren't capable of making adjustments?
Yeah. Scrimmage. Yeah. Correct. That
What
was so
adjustment
weird,
do
man.
you need when Allen Houston keeps making threes? Like guard
Correct.
Allen Houston?
Yes. He was the best
Look.
3-point shooter on the whole court from both teams.
Look, I am a proponent of the fact that this might happen 1 out of 100 times.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I'm willing to say that there's no real rationale as to why the college team beat the dream team, but they did.
Correct.
And everybody acknowledges it. Players on the team. I think Jordan acknowledged it.
Yeah, he said those young kids beat our butts.
He's
Yes.
the greatest player of all time. The most
Correct.
probably the most
He's the
competitive
greatest.
guy.
Yeah. He's a maniac.
And he responded the next day, right? Which I love. When he told Allen Houston, you're not going to get the ball above your shoulder.
Yeah.
And he didn't. You don't respond that way unless you got beat the day before.
Correct. Yeah. And even in the interviews, I mean, but Larry Bird was saying, he's like, some of these young guys, I'm glad I'll be retiring soon.
Did you see though the first 5 minutes of the second game who Magic went to?
Oh, was it Robinson?
No, it was Bird. He just went to Bird.
Oh yeah.
Bird had like 12 straight points. Bird was calling his shots. So I'm gonna go down the block, turn around, hit it off the glass. I'm gonna go out the corner.
Think about the John Kemp story with him.
Oh,
he's like, yeah, he's telling me everything he's gonna do, and he's doing it, and there's nothing I can do about it.
Look, let's not get down the Larry Bird rabbit hole. Back to Coach K. What a butthole! I want to say. Yeah. I don't know. Can I say the other word? I think we're trying to keep it kid friendly.
Yeah, no. Everyone knows what you mean.
Like for real, Kevin. Like he's a jerk. I don't know.
Correct.
This is you are sitting there with Grant Hill, and you're reminiscing about one of the coolest moments in sports. Like them beating the dream team, just being a part of the dream team, just being to play the dream team would probably be the highlight for most people's career.
Correct.
And Coach K sits there and just poo-poos it, tells them your accomplishments didn't actually happen.
Correct. Despite everybody else seeing it. Yeah.
I can't believe it. And I'll tell you what, dude. Something happened to Coach K in the back half of the 2010s. I don't know what it was. It was around Grayson Allen, right? And I know he had some health problems and some stuff and some whatevers. And he went from, to me, being a very respected coach. I mean, he's got the most wins of all time. He's a hell of a coach. But man, he is so full of himself, Kevin. I can't deal with it.
Yeah. And I know you didn't like when he finally switched to recruiting the one and dones, right? Where were you at on that?
I don't know that. I mean,
you had to keep up.
I don't know that it bothered me. That was the nature of the game.
Yeah,
exactly. Zion Williams was I liked watching him play at Duke. Man.
Yeah.
I liked watching him play at Duke. I don't know that I was mad at that necessarily. It's just been his attitude, like he's God's gift to basketball.
Yeah.
And
real quick.
Go ahead.
I just want to touch on Zion Williamson. There hasn't been anybody since him that we've been as excited about. Yeah.
No.
Like even with Cooper Flag this year, it just hasn't been. He's the best player we've had in a few years as far as the slam dunk, bona fide NBA prospecting. It just hasn't been what Zion was. As good as he is, he's great.
Do you think
that buzz, man?
Do you think that? Do you think it's all his eating habits that he's just undisciplined, and the undisciplined activities are what's causing his inability to stay
Yeah,
healthy?
I think he is such a uniquely built athlete that he has to work twice as hard to stay in shape than I think most players have to. So I think that the minimum requirement that most players need to at least be able to stay healthy, I think it's double that work for him. And I think that's why he struggles. Like I don't know if he's necessarily lazy, but
But it
he
was,
has to work twice as hard to stay healthy.
but it's just crazy because like the Thunder played them last year in the playoffs, right? I'm remembering this
Yeah.
right,
Uh-huh.
and of course he gets hurt.
Yeah, he didn't play a game. Yeah. Hurt his hamstring in the last regular season game, and that was that. They got swept.
Yeah,
He's so interesting, man. Like he'll be out for a month with a hamstring injury, and he'll come his first game back and do a 360 windmill in the game.
and
Like this
you're
dude
like
is just,
yeah.
yeah, he's so talented, man. I love watching him play. He's legit. He's not like he's a guy who's just out there dunking. He's a legit player. He's a playmaker. He's a good passer.
Yeah.
He's a decent shooter as well. So
So,
man,
so back to your question. If I'm a Coach K fan, I can't be mad at him for going to get Zion Williams. You see what I mean? Like,
yeah,
if that's the example we're using. But I just think I feel like Coach K, his entire career was running away from affiliation with Bobby Knight.
okay,
And yet somehow I feel like he's taken over Knight's mantle
yeah.
and
He just
it's become the crotchety, I know better than you do. I'm the
yeah,
all-knowing guy about basketball. You're not even really worthy to talk about it in my presence. And
yeah.
I don't know. I'm put off by it. I'm put off by it.
You get it, man.
Great show though.
It
Great
was,
show. Allen Houston had a stroke, man.
dude.
Jeez.
So yeah, those guys, man. It's Penny Hardaway, 6'7" point guard who could just do it all.
I loved Penny Hardaway
Me
in
too.
college, and then I loved him with the Magic. He was so fun, dude. It was so fun when him and Shaq were together. You wish that could have just gone on. You know,
Correct. Yeah, they only got
I,
3 years together.
I know Shaq. Did Shaq get traded,
No, he
or
left
did
as a free agent.
he left as a free? It's the right move for him, I guess. You win 3 titles, but golly, I
Yeah, it would
like
have
those
been
Magic
just to
teams.
see. Me too, man. I mean, to make the finals at that part, so early, 95. I think Penny's in his second year.
Was there a better commercial than Lil Penny?
That was great. Yeah, Chris
It,
Rock. Yeah, I had the Penny Hardaway posters, man.
So good. So yeah. Anyway, it's a good one. Yep, we're on Celtic City now. I got to finish that, or I need to start the second episode. In fact, I might. Well, I won't do that tonight because OU is going to be tipping off here in about 11 minutes.
Oh, that's still not started?
It's still not started. The TV is saying that the tip is at 10:45 Eastern,
My
9:45. It's
goodness.
9:35 here.
So we're over an
Um,
hour behind.
by the way, we haven't had a chance to settle up on the bet. OU beat Texas to end the regular season. We are back square.
Yeah,
So any new bets will be a new bet.
yes, for sure. Good win, sloppy game, I thought,
Yeah, it was
down in
ugly.
Austin.
I thought
Yeah,
there was
it
a
was
lot of good
ugly.
defense I thought the intensity level was
Yeah,
good though.
yeah, it was good. But I thought you guys were a little bit quicker to 50-50 balls,
Oh,
things
really?
like that. I thought you guys were a little bit more desperate than we were, which is disappointing. And our superstar freshman goes 0 for 14 from the field. You know, good. You guys play good defense, but I mean, at the end of the game, we're down 4. It's like 30 seconds left, and he just misses a wide open layup. I mean, there's nobody there. He's got a screen, and he has a straight path and layup off the glass and misses it. Just like, man, it's just not this kid's day.
Um, when it comes to football, I watch every single play. I never change the channel of an OU football game.
Yeah,
I don't even do multi-view unless it's halftime. Okay? I am fully committed to the immersive experience that is Oklahoma football. when it comes to Oklahoma basketball, I find that I can't watch the whole game. I will change the channel and try to like have some mind juju to like affect the game,
go back
and then
and
come back and watch it. And then if they're losing, I'll change it again. And if they're winning, I might watch it a little bit. But I can't watch a whole game straight. I don't know if it's just my personality or what, but I can't do it anymore. Is that weird?
No, it's not, because it's the same way. I purposely avoided watching the majority of the Texas versus Texas A&M game today.
Just because you knew it was going to just the anxiety
Yeah,
levels were going to get you in
it's too
different
much.
ways.
Yeah,
I don't know
Yeah.
what it is. Now I'll listen to it on the radio, which is I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm captive in the car and stuff. But at home when it's on TV, like even this game, I'm anticipating the fact that I'm going to start this game and then something's going to happen and I'm going to like turn over and watch Jeopardy for a minute and then I'll come back and then I'll turn over and watch the news and I'll come back. Whoa.
Do you
All right.
DVR Jeopardy?
Yeah, I do.
So do
I
I.
do. We watch it most nights. I'll tell you,
Casey and I watch it every night.
do you watch Celebrity Jeopardy?
Not as often, no. I think I watched it last year, but not this year.
It's so easy. If you want to feel
That's
good about
why
yourself,
it's
too
easy and the pace is really slow.
yeah, it's too easy. I like the real Jeopardy.
Me too. We watch it every night.
Listen. I'm a pretty good single Jeopardy player, like the Jeopardy round. I feel like I could hang. When they go double Jeopardy, that's when the cream rises to the top, and I usually get pushed to the side.
Dude, some of those categories, man, I got Shakespeare and literature and
Shakespeare's not the end of the world for me, but mythology,
opera. Yeah.
like Greek and Roman mythology, I am out on that. Right? It is that, and then
opera. I'm out on that too, man.
Opera and classical music. Unless the clue is really good about like giving me something else, I'm usually out on that. But I'll tell you what really stresses me out though on Jeopardy when I'm watching it is when they do like presidential history.
So that's your thing, though, isn't it?
Because that's my thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like an extra amount of pressure. Like Alice turns around and looks at me and she's like, okay, here you go.
Here we go. You're like, oh, no, don't look at me. Yeah. Why'd you do that?
I don't need this. I usually do pretty good at it. But still, the one or two will get me and I'll be like, oh.
Yeah. Well, Ken Jennings has done a great job as host. To go from being the GOAT player to a really good host. That's pretty rare, man.
Look, I like Blossom as much as the next dude. But she wasn't good compared to Ken Jennings, right?
No, not at all. It wasn't close.
He is a natural host. It's unbelievable how good he is.
Yeah, it should not work like that. You cannot go from being the best player to a great host.
And it seems unnatural that somebody that good is following Alex Trebek.
Yes.
It's like there should have been somebody. There should have been somebody in the middle where we look back and go, who was that guy? Because Ken Jennings is really, why didn't they go with Ken Jennings from the beginning? Instead, they did. I guess Mia Bialik like kind of fits that role a little bit.
Yeah.
But
it's interesting because remember the guy who was I think he was one of the producers of the show. He was actually going to be the host, and then they uncovered some unsavory comments from his past.
Scandalous. Yep.
Correct. Which was really, I think, one of the best things that could happen because Ken has done an amazing job.
Well, the crazy thing about Ken is you forget about Ken. You know how good he is, but then he goes up against like James
Holzhauer,
who is like LeBron.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he's the LeBron of Jeopardy.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ken goes up against him, and you're reminded who the Jordan of Jeopardy is.
Correct.
And you're like, man, I know how good James is. Like, James is so good. And
he is incredible.
And he'll double down and, the true daily double. I mean,
the all-in things with the chips.
The margins which he would win by were just overwhelmingly impressive. But, man, when he went up against Ken Jennings, dude, it was just
tough,
like
man.
Youngin.
But you see it, man. It's like the best on the best, though, when they go up head to head.
Speaking of old heads, Somebody asked a question on the X the other day. I know this is a little off topic, but I'm also waiting on the OU game to start. That's when I'll probably sign off. But they said, hey, for all the old heads out there, was Roy Williams really the best safety to ever play at OU? Now, first of all, I've never even really thought of myself as an old head. But when I was presented it that way, I was like, I guess maybe I am, because this guy played 25 years ago, you know?
Correct. Yeah.
You know what my response was? My response was, check out the last 2 minutes of the 2001 OU Texas game. That's all you got to know.
Yeah. Back to back to back, big plays.
He was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So there you go. Me and Ken Jennings, we're old heads, Kevin. You're not an old
So you
head
do
yet. Are you 40? You're 40?
41, man. Yeah.
It seems
41.
old.
Yeah,
seems old.
because it is. It is. Think
I
about
don't
it,
like
man.
that.
Yeah.
I don't like
So you guys do consider Roy to be your best safety ever?
Who would be better?
No, I'm just asking. I'm not debating it. Just, you know.
I mean, I think he's our best safety, and I think Derek Strait's our best corner. I don't know
Good,
that.
man. He was good.
You know, I think the harder question for Oklahoma fan, I think quarterback's always going to be a tougher question.
Oh my God, yeah. Quarterback,
running back.
Running back is almost impossible.
But receiver's not easy either, even just in the Bob Stoops era.
Yeah.
At least with running backs, not with running back, but with running backs, you know, you could go back, right? Back in the day. I mean, receivers really didn't matter until 2000. And you look at 99 till now, and you're like, oh my God, dude. You had Bolitnikov winner D.D. Westbrook, who gets forgotten quite a bit, with CeeDee Lamb and Hollywood Brown and Ryan Broyles and Sterling Shepard, and forget Mark Clayton. Yeah, that dude's still there. You know, I mean, those for Oklahoma fan, that wide receiver is really weird. I think when it comes to running back, I think everybody goes Adrian Peterson, right? For Oklahoma.
I know, but you also have Billy Sims.
I mean, no, but it's just so hard.
It depends on how old you are, man. It's what you saw with your own eyes.
Well, I'll tell you what my dad would say. Joe Washington.
Really? Joe Washington over Billy Sims?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that's really the case. My dad that was his sweet spot. He was in college the same time Joe Washington was in college.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But the problem with Joe Washington, and I've said this before, is he wasn't on television because they were on a TV ban. I mean, how good is Joe Washington if you got more video of him? Like, the only video you have of him is the one play against USC.
Which is
unbelievable.
He's Reggie Bush
before Reggie Bush in that play.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to talk about a guy before his time.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Drop that guy in the college football right now.
Oh, so because like Texas' best quarterback, is it Colt?
No, it's Vince Young.
Oh yeah. What am I talking? Sorry.
Yeah.
I always forget. It's Vince Young. Your best running back though is Earl.
That's tough, right?
Or Ricky.
Yeah, it's one of those two. You know, I always give the nod to Earl, but I saw Ricky Williams run.
Yeah.
I never saw Earl.
I still remember the Ricky Williams Demond Parker game.
Yeah.
In 97. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. What does Demond Parker have? Almost 300 yards?
Yeah, he had 2 called back. He had 2 called back, Kevin. That was an insane game. That was an insane game by 2 really, really, really good running backs. I mean, I think it's probably Ricky Williams. Your receivers haven't been as standout as OU's receivers, especially in the last 25 years. I mean, you can't really say Roy Williams is your best receiver, right?
He was really good, man. He just wasn't good
against y'all. He didn't catch a touchdown against Oklahoma?
I know. Yeah, nobody did. You know, nobody did. You know, I think all of that is a testament to how good you guys were. I mean, no excuse for not having a touchdown against that. It shows how much of a mental edge that those Stoops teams had over Mac Brown's teams during that era. It's crazy, man. Because we're putting multiple guys into the first round every year. So much talent.
Okay, let me ask you this: Xavier Worthy over Roy Williams, right?
Yes, because now from a talent standpoint, I would still take Roy Williams
And this
over
is
X.
and this is Xavier Worthy's extracurricular activities notwithstanding. I don't even know what's going on there.
It's all been dropped. It's a long
Yeah,
story,
something
but
seemed really weird there. But anyway,
yeah,
go ahead.
it's
But it's it.
completely been dropped. But
But Xavier Worthy's a better.
yeah,
I
he
don't
was better.
know.
He was
I
more
think there's a
productive.
lot of qualifications. I think he was a better wide receiver than Roy Williams.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, right? I think Roy was a little bit more versatile because with his size. But again,
The
X
game's
played
changed
better and
though,
bigger games.
and
The game has changed for sure,
yeah,
for sure. But when we got Roy, I hadn't seen anything like that before. I hadn't seen a guy who was 6'4", 210 pounds as a freshman and be able to run like that. Remember,
Oklahoma's just,
this is 2000.
Oklahoma's just tipped off against Kentucky. Kentucky is only 10-8 in conference. Man, this conference is so deep.
It is.
Okay, and then real quick, we went through quarterbacks, Vince Young, wide receiver, we think is Xavier Worthy. Running back is probably Ricky Williams. So the problem is where I think you have the same problem that Oklahoma
Oh,
does is when
hold
you
on,
look
real
at your
quick.
when you
You
look
just
at your
compare those two.
when you look at your secondary though.
Jordan Shipley was
I
the
hate
most
Jordan Shipley.
consistent receiver we've ever had.
What? Don't bring up Jordan Shipley.
Yeah,
I don't need it.
You just compare Roy and Worthy, but Jordan Shipley's the best and most consistent receiver
Jordan
Texas
Shipley was a
ever
first
had.
down machine, dude. How many first
Yes.
downs did that guy get?
Yes.
You want to talk about scoring against Oklahoma?
Yes.
My
Every
God.
year. Yeah.
He's a Sooner killer, dude.
Yeah. 6, 7,
Jordan
and 8.
effing Shipley, Kevin. And when I'm not on the podcast, I say the real word. I hate that guy. I'll tell
Well,
you
I
who
got
wasn't
those.
good, who's not on the list, Jackson Shipley with an X.
Jackson was
You know
born at the
what?
wrong time.
I think some people think that when I make fun of people's names at Texas, that there is a certain connotation that maybe it's because whatever. Jackson Shipley. There you go. White dude. Terrible name, Kevin.
Jackson.
Dude, spell your name like you're supposed to spell it.
Hey, shout out to Bob Shipley, man. Great coach down in the great state of Texas, Burnett
Where'd
High
they go to
School.
school?
Burnett, Texas. Burnet in the Hill Country.
Oh yeah, I know Burnett.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Now, well, you know what? I
Real
don't know if
quick,
Jackson went there. I think he might have been gone.
Oklahoma's down 8-0 with 18 minutes to go in the first half.
Yeah.
I got to go watch this game, Kevin.
Hold on,
I got to watch this game. We can keep talking about Jordan Shipley, though, if you want to.
No, you said something about the Texas secondary?
I was going to say that's the closest thing you've got to like our wide receivers is who's the best secondary player at Texas in the last 25 years.
It's impossible. It's hard to even come up
Is
with
it Earl Thomas? It's not Earl Thomas?
I mean, you also have Michael Huff, who won the Thorpe Award. Aaron Ross won the Thorpe Award. You've had great corners.
And then you got Jade. And then you got Jade now.
Correct. Thorpe
could
Award
you
winner.
look back at Jade? Isn't it weird to think that you could look back at Jade Barron and say it depends on what maybe he does in the pros, because those guys were great pros. But to look back and go, he's as good as these guys. That's crazy when you think about that, you know?
Yeah, just an incredible career. And I'm just happy for him, and I can't wait to see him in the NFL. It's gonna be great.
Who's the best secondary player at Texas? Make it right here, right now, before I go finish this Oklahoma game. See, right now I'd be changing the channel. But go ahead.
Earl Thomas.
Earl Thomas.
Yeah, he was just that 09 season, man. It is just ridiculous.
That's probably right. Kevin, have a great night. I don't know if you're going to stay up and watch this game, but congrats on your A&M win. Good luck. Good freaking luck against Tennessee tomorrow, but enjoy it. Have a great night, great weekend. We're going to be off next week for spring break. Everybody have a fun spring break. Have a great March Madness. Fill out your brackets. Boomer!
Welcome.